How did you know that question to ask? But you're now making $180 instead of $100. Sometimes it doesn't feel like a super safe place for the participant. One of the most important things that I did when I started my online business, so when I transitioned from teaching singing and performing as my main bread and butter to actually building this online business that has so far generated over $200,000. One of the most important things that I did as an artistpreneur was to teach groups. From the very, very beginning, I knew I wasn't going to want to focus this online portion of my career solely teaching one-to-one singing lessons. I knew I wanted to do something else. And so I had started to learn all of this stuff about social media, online business, business in general, marketing. And I was at a juncture in myself where I was like, I am done being a starving artist. No more. I'm going to get online, I'm going to build a real business, and I'm going to help other artists to do the same thing. And I've been doing this now for 5 years, and there's no stopping me. Like, my mission is just deepening and deepening in terms of just my commitment to you and helping you as an artist to actually make money in a way that feels so good, satisfying, successful, heart-led, soul-led. It's so juicy. It's only getting juicier. But like I was saying, one of the most important decisions that I made was in deciding to lead live group programs instead of focusing on one-to-one. Now, I'm not saying that you should start when you go online doing live group programs, but what I am saying is that if you're ready to do that, let's go. And so that's what this YouTube video is going to be all about. And it was inspired by a question I got by an artist who recently joined my free Facebook group. So if you're not already a member of that free Facebook group, what are you waiting for? Because you can hop in and you can ask questions. And so the question was, how do I transition to groups? Like, I'm really confident teaching one-to-one, and that's the thing. That's what I mean. If you are not confident teaching one-to-one, you don't have any business teaching groups. But if you have been teaching one-to-one for many, many years, I had at least 2 decades of teaching one-to-one before I came online, knowing I wanted to work with groups. If you don't have any experience, and I don't mean you need 20 years, I mean you need to feel confident in your ability to teach one-to-one. You need to feel confident in what it is that you're teaching in general, and you need to feel confident in your ability to hold space for other people in a group, and that's something that I'm going to talk about in this video. If you are in that situation where you do feel confident teaching one-to-one and you are frustrated with the ceiling that you are experiencing on your income because you only have so many hours in the day to teach one-to-one, then definitely this video is for you. And if you are still in the journey of getting more confident teaching one-to-one, this video is still going to be for you, because some of the things that we're talking about when it comes to groups, like holding the space for emotional and psychological safety, is actually relevant to your one-to-one work as well. Hello, I am Fiona Flyte. If you're new around here, I help artists to become artistpreneurs. I help you with money and personal power so that never again are you going to feel like you have to take a gig regardless of what it pays, or you're going to have to take a student even though it doesn't feel aligned, even though that student is like not the right match for you and would do better with another teacher, just like you would do better with a different student. So you can hop into the free Facebook group. I've got an amazing free masterclass called Pie in the Sky, which will help you to actualize on your dreams and really believe that they can come true. And then I've got a whole slew of paid programs, and there's a link to everything in the description. Take a little perusal and click all those links when you are ready to do that. But right now, let's dive into this whole question of how do you scale to group programs. Now, I've already mentioned this issue of emotional safety in a group. And actually, that is not where I'm going to start. I'm going to come back to that one. I want to start with the energetics. One of the things that I have discovered for myself in my genius of showing up to help you and to help my clients is that I am a bridge between the strategy and the energetics. I used to say I was a bridge between the strategy and the mindset, but it goes beyond mindset. Mindset is like a subset of this bigger thing of energetics. And a lot of the time, you're going to find coaches who will give you all this strategy and then you'll feel frustrated because it's not working. When you know you implemented everything they told you, it was like the perfect strategy, it makes intellectual sense, and yet it's not working. This is where something is going on in the energetics that needs to be cleaned up. You'll also come across those coaches who are like, just be happy, just be positive, just think good thoughts and it'll all work out. And you're like, yeah, well, I could actually need a little bit of strategy, because what am I supposed to do? You need both. So I am for sure that bridge between strategy and energetics, and it is part of my genius. So I want to start here actually with the energetics and the mindset, because the biggest thing in the way of you really moving and scaling your business as some kind of artist, coach, or music teacher is in your belief around whether or not the group has as much value as the one-to-one. Because if you are here watching me, it's highly likely you're heart-led and soul-led. Like, you are led by your heart and soul. You probably wear it on your sleeve, and you want to always be providing the most insane value. And so if you believe on some level that the group is not as good as the one-to-one, then you're going to have a really hard time filling those groups and selling those groups and promoting those groups. We need you to be so firm and solid in the yes, the group is insanely valuable and I am really good at leading it. And so we need to separate out, is the group valuable or is it less valuable? Is it inferior to one-to-one? And that's where a lot of music teachers and artist coaches get stuck. They think that their magic will only come out in that one-to-one relationship. And it's true that your magic does come out in the one-to-one, but it is not true that that's the only place that your magic can come out. And it is also true that while there are things about the one-to-one that aren't replaceable or replicable in the group, like the fact that it is one-to-one and there is just this incredible intimacy and vulnerability, it is in fact possible to create that same kind of vulnerable, intimate space in a larger group. And this is what we're talking about when we get to the emotional safety, the psychological safety in the space that you hold as the leader of the group. Now, there are also benefits to the group. And one of those benefits is the extraordinary network and community that can grow out of a group environment. Right now, I am in a group environment and I also hold a group environment because as I started this video, most of my programs are group programs. Well, one of them in my current mastermind has been with me in my group programs from the very, very first program I started, The Profitable Performer, 5 years ago. And that means that the history of our relationship is as deep from that experience as it would be if we were working together one-to-one. And we did have time where we worked together one-to-one. We know each other really, really well. And that means that I can support that artist with just that history of knowledge. But it also means that the other people, as they come along, because right now in my mastermind, it's quite small. There are 3 artists in my mastermind. All 3 of them have been working with me and each other for, I think it's now at least 3 years. I can't quite remember because the years go on. I'm not quite sure when the one that joined most recently joined, but we know each other. And so this space that we hold for each other, it's not at this point just me holding the space for them. It's the space that we co-create as a group is just profoundly supportive and deep and connected. And that network, that connection is so valuable. In the Think and Grow Rich book by Napoleon Hill, which is OG manifestation, he talks about the mastermind, the people coming together, and that when you really have a group of people aligning together with the common goal, the common mission, that the sum becomes greater than the parts. And this is something that can happen in any kind of group lesson environment. But you're probably not thinking in those like bigger terms. You're probably more thinking about just like, okay, it's all about me, and it's all about me and like the individual student, like it would be in the one-to-one. And you neglect to think about the fact that you're co-creating a community, a network, and that network is valuable. So right now, myself, I am in a network. I have joined a mastermind with my own mentor, and I have never felt more loved, more supported, more seen, more visible, more in community than I do right now in the network that she has created. It's not just her, it's the network that she has created. So when you start to think of these groups that you might create as more of a community and a whole network, it takes on a life of its own and it becomes more valuable than the one-to-one. Now, back in the days with one of my very early singing teachers, what she did, it was primarily one-to-one work. However, she had a monthly soiree where we all came together and we sang. It was like a recital, but it had this sort of like fun French vibe to it. And we would come in together in community and to support each other like that. And then over time, she did start to create groups to support her one-to-one students. And this is a great way of doing it too. So it's like she would see that there was a group of us in the studio who all needed more help with musicality. And so she would create a group on musicality. Or she would study something new. Like in the case of this musicality, she learned this method, Eurythmics. And she was like, I really want all my students to learn Eurythmics. And so I'm going to bring you together in a group and we'll learn it together as a class. And there were other things as well. When we started getting into opera, she did opera scenes. And so it was this sort of supplemental classes to the one-to-one work. So that's definitely an option for you. And it still created community. So if you are a classical musician, you're very familiar with the masterclass kind of way of doing this, where you've got the master teacher and there's the 3 to 5 selected participants who come and perform. And then there's the audience that's like the auditors of the class, and the auditors, it's either free or they pay 10 or 20 or $30, but the ones that are selected pay more often, or everyone pays the same, but it's like an audition for who gets to be the one that's the participant. And if you're not familiar with that, they made a show for Broadway called Masterclass, all about Maria Callas teaching a masterclass like this. It's kind of fun, especially if you like Maria Callas the way that I do. However, there is an issue with those kinds of masterclasses, which may be part of why you are feeling some emotional resistance to the value of the group versus the one-to-one. What happens a lot of the time in the master classes is that the master teacher is very much in a performance presentational mode, and they are in anxiety about whether or not the participant is going to be able to execute enough so that the audience appreciates the mastery of the master teacher. There can be a lot of triggering that happens, and unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't feel like a super safe place for the participant. I actually remember being a participant singer in one of these master classes with a famous opera singer. And I felt like she was reliving her own youth through me as she like went around the stage, like demonstrating, and have me sing, but her doing like different acting stuff. It was very weird and it didn't feel good. This is not what we're doing. And so it brings us to this whole question about emotional safety. How do we create a space that is emotionally and psychologically safe, that it feels safe to the people in it? And I did a podcast episode on this whole topic. And so I highly recommend that you listen to the podcast, the Artistpreneur podcast, because I go in and give you a really good example of the way in which my kids in their very special preschool and middle school, the way in which the teachers handled conflict there. That was a really helpful story I shared over there about how to deal with conflict within a group space. So I highly recommend going ahead and listening to the podcast. I'll drop a link in the description. But for now, what I want to say is that the number one thing you have to work on is yourself and your own ability to stay grounded warm, kind, compassionate, empathetic when you're triggered. Because sometimes in a group environment, you're going to be triggered, and it's your job not to single out other people or make them wrong in a group. In a group setting, we have to be holding this space of absolute love and acceptance for everybody in the group. We cannot play favorites. We must make everyone feel seen. And also, there can be boundaries if somebody like oversteps into outright attacks or racism towards you or anyone else in the group. But at that point, they actually need to leave the group. You can't keep someone in the group who is making it an unsafe space. Anybody who is in the group, you've got to be the one holding the space and helping everyone to rise to that level that you are holding. And honestly, this is something that I have worked on very, very hard, and something I pride myself about in all of the groups that I facilitate. And again, I go into that more in the podcast episode, so go ahead and listen to that if you're interested. Now, in terms of the format for a group, there's lots of formats. And the way that I typically do it is one of two different formats. And sometimes, like in the case of Mission Driven, which is the program I'm leading in right now, it's a combination where I have days where I'm delivering the program content. So that could be a day where you're teaching a new skill, where you are doing lots of demonstrating. And then I have days where I'm coaching, and those are implementation and integration days where it's one person after another comes forward with whatever it is that they need support with, and then I coach on that. In a group where you're, let's say, teaching singing, maybe everyone is singing in the group, and then maybe you're learning the new song together or working on a specific technique that you're introducing, and then people would be singled out to have their opportunity in the spotlight. Now, again, in that opportunity of being in the spotlight, there's actually benefit compared to one-to-one, because it is scary. It is so scary to be in the spotlight in front of the group. And so you have to be really mindful. You have to hold this really clean, energetic space. You have to make sure that everybody else in this space is holding the supportive energy for the person in the spotlight. You get to sometimes allow people to not step forward into the spotlight. You have to have a lot of emotional and self-awareness yourself, and trusting your intuition to see whose turn it is to come forward and who is maybe not ready. Like, it's pretty cool. But you also need to understand, and this goes back to the issue of value. Is it, valuable, less valuable, more valuable in a group versus one-to-one? That there can be extraordinary value in just hearing somebody else get the feedback, get the support. In the mastermind that I am in right now, there will be days when, let's say, 10 people ask a question and get coaching and 10 other people don't. Let's say there's 20 people on the call. And there will be people in the ones that didn't get coached that will be writing in the comments, "Oh my gosh, I needed that so much. How did you know that question to ask? Like, I didn't even know I needed to ask that question. And thank you for asking it. I wouldn't have thought of it, but it helped me so much." And so you'll be working with one student, and another student is like, "Oh my gosh, that's exactly what it was that I needed," even if they don't get worked with that time at all. So you have to understand that not everyone needs one-to-one time in each group program. But if it's a small group and you've decided that that is the format, then you're going to watch the time and you're going to be like, okay, each person gets 15 minutes, for example. Let's say it's a 2-hour group class. It's like an hour of group work, and then it is 15 minutes for each participant, for example. If there are, that would mean there would be 1, 2, 3, 4, no, like 4, right? 4 15 minutes. Four people if everyone was getting 15 minutes, but you get what I mean. 6 people if everyone's getting 10 minutes. And so you got to be clocking the time, making sure that everyone is getting their fair amount, if that's the format that you want to use. But I prefer the format where you actually are rooted in the knowing that somebody might not get a turn that week, and yet they're still going to benefit. But if that's the case, then you need to set that expectation at the beginning, and you lead with that so that the people in the group understand. Because sometimes if the people in the group haven't reached that level of emotional maturity, or have never experienced a group class like this, then they might think, oh, if I don't get one-to-one time, then it's not as valuable. That's not necessarily true, but you would need to help them to experience that before it might really land in their body. And one more thing is that one-to-one is not the only way to do one-to-one. So you might be thinking like, I can only have that specific one-to-one magic that shows up maybe in the one-to-one lesson. Maybe I can have a different kind of magic in the group. But the truth is that you can actually bring both the magic of the group that you discover within yourself, but also your one-to-one magic to a group. It's that in that moment of laser focus in on one person, you bring that one-to-one magic, and everybody else gets to witness that magic and actually benefit from it. And so there is so much value, I hope you can see now, in groups as well as in one-to-one. Now, one other thing I want to touch on here is pricing. And this again goes back to your belief around one-to-one versus groups. It is not true that the one-to-one is more valuable from the group, and that is why you should charge less for the group. That is not true, and we need to get rid of that. The reason we charge less for the group, which we do, is because we can, because it makes it a win-win, because it opens up opportunities for students who might not be able to afford a regular lesson at your full rate. And now in the group environment, they can. And this is another really positive benefit of doing the group. And so, for example, if you charge, let's say $100 an hour for one-to-one, you could do a semi-private lesson, just 2 people, charge them each $75, and now they each save $25 and you earn an extra $50 for the same hour. It is a win-win. And then as you grow in confidence, you can keep expanding the group number and you can keep lowering the rate and you can keep making more money. So now it's a group of 3 people. And instead of charging 75, let's say you charge 60. So it's still a win for them now that it's 3 instead of 2, but you're now making $180 instead of $100 and instead of $150. So you get to keep dropping the rate for more people while your income keeps increasing. Win, win, win. And I also want you to understand that there is no cap on how much you charge for your groups. So you may be thinking, okay, so I'm always going to be teaching groups and how much I charge for the groups keeps dropping and dropping based on how many people I have. And that's a yes, but also no, because as your groups grow and as you build a name around what it is you do and more people want it and more demand for it, then actually you can start raising your prices for your groups. At the same time, you'll probably also be raising your prices on the one-to-one. So just for context, it absolutely is possible to charge big bucks for your group programs. My own mentor has live group programs that do not include any or very minimal sort of one-to-one interaction. She's got programs that range from $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 for a live group program that's like 4 to 6 weeks long. So this is another reason why scaling from one-to-one to group programs is just a really positive thing. You can make more money yourself. You can make it more affordable for others. People build in network and community so long as you create that space for people to come together in a really safe way. And there's actually huge benefit from learning and listening to other people getting coached and feedback. So I hope that this was a really, really helpful strategy, heavy video for you today. I hope that it's really landed and that you're growing in confidence yourself now in terms of scaling your business, transitioning from the one-to-one to more groups. If you love teaching one-to-one, then keep doing that and add the groups because you're going to grow as a teacher and you're going to be providing just an extraordinary new service in your business. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, follow me on the socials, hop on over to the description and click on all those links. Join me in the free Facebook group, join Pie in the Sky, and check out the paid programs because they are marvelous. My favorite is Unshakable. It's my all access pass, a year together growing as an artistpreneur, building your business, building your bank account, and building yourself in personal power. And now, as always, go out into the world and shine your light. You have a voice, you deserve to be heard, and the world deserves to hear you.